What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Lethal Weapon 2, directed by Richard Donner, starring Mel Gibson and Danny Glover and Joe Pesci. Lethal Weapon 2 tells the story of Riggs and Murtaugh having to protect this federal witness, while all the while trying to evade the South African drug dealers led by a diplomat named Rudd. So that's the overall basic premise of Lethal Weapon 2. Let's talk about it. I overall like Lethal Weapon 2. I like it on par with the first movie. I don't think it's either bad. I don't think it's better than the first movie. I think they're both on an equal level playing field. I think Lethal Weapon 2 is a good continuation of the first movie from a character standpoint. Once again, Glover and Mel Gibson, they just kill it in the roles of Riggs and Murtaugh, respectively. I love the chemistry between these two. They they on screen they feel like they have a genuine friendship, and the mixed match partners that they were in the first movie, the friendship in this one really shows, and they really show to care about one another, and I really like it a lot. Especially the scenes where Riggs is at the Murtaugh home, and he's just bantering back and forth with Murtaugh's family. You feel like Riggs is a part of that family because they all look to him as if he's a member of the family, and I like that stuff a lot. So Miggs and Rotor from a character from a progression of the partnership and friendship, that stuff is handled well. And the inclusion of Joe Pesci in this movie as Leo Getz was a great addition to the movie. Joe Pesci is fantastic. He is hilarious as Leo Getz, and his inclusion into with Murtaugh and Riggs creates this triangle where the comedic bantering between these three men is hilarious, with both Riggs and Murtaugh pretty much getting fed up with Leo Getz and finding him to be extremely annoying. And Joe Pesci knows how to be an annoying yet very likable character in this movie without being annoying to the point where you want to see him get shot. He's annoying to the point where you're like, hey, he's annoying, but he's actually really funny. And I like the dynamic that's happening with these three. It's good stuff. I like it a lot. Josh Eklund plays the villain named Rudd, and unlike the first movie with the general, I think Rudd is a more interesting villain, being that he's somebody from the political field, and the fact that he has diplomatic immunity kind of makes him untouchable, and he's able to do his dealings pretty much without any hassle, with the exception of Riggs and Murtaugh, who are onto him, of course. So I like all that stuff, and I like how he's very careful, especially when he starts to pick off the government officials who are onto him. Like he kills a bunch of police officers, and he kills like another government official too. So I really like how Rudd is built up as like this intimidating villain, and I think Josh Eklund gives a good presence and charisma to the villain. He's nothing spectacular by any means necessary, but I think he's better than the Mitchell Ryan character from the first movie. Uh, the action sequences in this movie, I think, are much better directed in this one than they were in the first movie. I think the action sequences in this movie they're much more grander. They're much more over the top. Very entertaining and very fun to watch, including the opening car chase at the beginning of the movie. And you have this zany, over the top scene where Mel Gibson ties a pickup truck to a balcony, and brings the whole thing down. It's preposterous and ridiculous, but it works for me, and it's funny. I like it, and I also like the scene where Riggs's trailer home is being shot to shreds while he and this girl named Rinka are trying to make an escape, and the ending is great too. When Riggs and Murtaugh go on a boat to try and stop Rudd, and the whole final climactic scene is great with Riggs almost dying at the end, which I thought was pretty cool too. And once again, Richard Donner, he is a great director. The cinematography in this movie is much better in this movie than it was in the first movie. Now, this movie brings that tone of the first movie, but this movie has a more comedic feel to it, mainly because you have the Joe Pesci Leo Getz character and Riggs and Murtaugh's bantering with one another. The comedy is really punched up in this movie, and I like it. I think it works. Now, some of my negatives that I have with this movie is this. This movie introduced the concept of Riggs having a love interest, and on paper, that is a good idea, though I think that the character of Rinka, who Riggs is forming the romance with, I don't think there's anything there. I don't have enough scenes with them to really sell that they're falling for one another, and the actress and Mel Gibson, they don't really have good on-screen chemistry with one another. They have one scene where they talk, they have sex, and then 5 minutes later, she's dead. It doesn't really do anything for me. I think it was an underwritten romance that could have been a whole lot better, and you could have gotten a much better actress who could pretty much stand with Mel Gibson on screen. But Mel Gibson just overshadows her because he's the better actor, and you can clearly tell that she's just blank as wood paper. And they also did a thing where they tried to tie the death of Riggs's wife to the African drug dealers who has, with one of them having it out for Riggs after Riggs, because prior to the events of the first movie, this other guy had it out for Riggs for something, and I don't really like that retcon. It kind of feels forced and shoehorned in, and you're trying to give Riggs a motivation now to want to go after the drug dealers even more. I don't know. It just felt kind of forced to me. I didn't really care for it. So, but yeah, those are just my two minor complaints. Overall, I think Lethal Weapon 2 is a fun movie. I like it on par with the first movie, and that's why I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I recommend it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Lethal Weapon 2. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.